Hello, hello.
By Randy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 4, tour of the community gym, bus driver area, or bus shop. Do we want to do that?
We'll move that to the end.
Oh,
Just that. down
okay.
to- Towards the bottom.
Yep.
Move on to item 5, continued business, 5.1 capital planning, 2021, 511, discussion on parking lots.
Is
So-
Frank coming?
Yeah, Frank
Okay.
should be here.
Yeah, he was just finishing up.
Let's jump on to, let's just go on to the playground one.
Okay.
Okay.
5.1.2, discussion on playground.
I don't know if we really need to talk about the whole playground thing again.
No, I guess I just printed off because you said they had the three
Perfect.
things, so.
Well, and that's what, I don't know, Brandy, if you've been up to it, so we look, kind of looking at our budget.
There you are. You're fine.
We've got, for funds for other things and for COVID
You
and
want to
stuff
hand
like
that
that.
stuff out? I'm
We've
going.
got
You
about,
can do that right now if you want to.
so about 140,000 of COVID money left, which we don't want to spend on playground. But we've got plenty of other things that
Thank you.
it looks like we could easily spend out of end of the year money that we already have, just got a regular budget stuff that we saved. We could fully fund 80,000 for the playground. So my only concerns were, is, looking at the elements and some of these things, if people had any questions.
Yep.
If anybody had any concerns about different elements up there, I don't know if we want.
So that, you have that picture in your packet too. It's the
Okay.
same one.
Yeah, okay,
So-
and so if there's anything anybody has any questions about, otherwise,
So I can, if you want, I can kind of go through these again real quick.
which is the one that is the number one?
The one that most people liked, and I think you guys kind of leaned towards this one too, was the one that we have the big poster we're just handing. Yep, so,
The Lee
and that's the Lee Recreation out of Cambridge. They're the ones that did it at Miller Park. We kind of started this whole journey. And all of these different ones are, I mean, you can, depending on how much you want to spend, you can get whatever you want. And I mean, there's ones in there, brochures that are $300,000-$400,000 each. That would be for like big city park type of thing. But, so this was the kind of the size that all of them recommended for our area, basically. And I apologize if the two aren't in color, but I got a toner today. I'll print them off. I had extras of these other ones before, so. So yeah, most people I went through the staff, most of them like the Lee Recreation the most. Obviously, we haven't put it out to the public. I didn't know. I think it's just that it's an easier thing to just decide and move forward with. So if you have questions on any of the elements, I'm happy to answer.
The 78,757 is all in.
That is installed, that is everything. The only thing that doesn't cover is the bark and the excavation to flatten the spot. I have talked to Randy, as you guys all know, he's amazing. He said he'd take care of it for us. So there is for Burke, there's a 5-week lead time right now, he said. So he said, once we have approval and can order it, it's 5 weeks until they'll get the stuff, and then they start looking at a window for installation, which that would work perfect as far as getting it done over the summer, because then we gotta find time for Randy to come in and obviously work with his schedule too, so.
Is there anything in any of these elements or any of those that anybody has any concerns with as far as safety things or anything like that? Reasonable to me, and they're kind of like, for you, is there a specific elements in there that you like for specific movement or specific things?
So you can see there's kind of that wide, on the top picture, there's that slide. It's a roller slide. So it's like kind of like an assembly line with little rollers and they can ride down it. That's kind of a sensory input thing. The slides are all that feeling of dropping, but you're not actually dropping. Anything with climbing is huge because we don't really have anything right now besides climbing in and out of the sand pit, which is something to do. And then you've got balance steps. There's a lot of upper body with we moved the 3 bars because the 3 bars we have up here are not, I mean, they're on their way out, just like the structure was. And then the spinning, we have a lot of the spinning stuff here already, so we didn't incorporate a lot of that. I did put one in there for some of the older kids. I've seen those in a lot of parks and the kids seem to have a blast on them, where they kind of stand up and hang, and then they kind of safer version of, I think it was called the Winches hat, where they'd all have a cable and you kind of run, and then also your feet would be off the ground. So it's kind of the new version of that. Here's the thing. So we figured we could move, because there's 4 relatively new items from down here that we could move up and find homes for on this. And then I'd really like to save the merry-go-round and find a home for that there too. Awesome. It's like sell them, so.
And the square footage of this and the area we have up there.
So I actually marked it off. So if you wanted to, we could go up and look at it at some point. But it's 50 by 85 is the minimum area. I rounded up a little bit. I think they said 48 by 82. So I just added a little bit on each end just to make sure. But it basically goes from the far tower in the very far corner, and then basically right where that triangle balance beam is, that's pretty much our. And then the trees that we put up there, there's one that's gonna have to come out, but I'm pretty sure that one's dead because it didn't have any leaves this past fall, or this past summer. So that one can get removed easily. And then the other 2 are kind of like on the 1 foot or 2 on the outside edge of it, so those should be fine staying there. So, but yeah, so I can answer any questions. All of these can be modified. Add stuff, we can move stuff. This was just kind of the design that gentleman works for the recreation. I kind of worked on together and felt like it got us the most bang for our buck, if you will. Get a lot of kids on it, spread them out good, in a safe way.
Mike, is that gravel up there been spread out yet?
Pea gravel?
Yeah,
There's one pile, I'm trying to think if there's 1 pile or 2 piles left. So when we first got it, I put it underneath the swings.
right.
And then another day I attempted to move it, and then I got the skid steer stuck for about an hour and a half. I worked for about 2 minutes and then tried to get the skid steer up about an hour and a half. So it works best with tracks.
Okay.
Or many people with shovels and stuff like that. So I kind of left it there for the kids to kind of run up and climb on it.
Yep.
So
Okay.
eventually that will get spread out, whether it's through erosion with the children or somebody who has a nicer track skid steer.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
The recommendation would be to move it on to finance and then have it on the agenda for Monday.
I concur to move it on to finance. So, motion on that? Doesn't necessarily committee, but discussion and vote. Everybody would concur.
I move that we recommend to move forward on the playground. Passing through finance, let finance stuff that's full dollar value.
But a motion, move it on. In the discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Then Monday, I don't know if we'll need to have a lot of discussion, but you know, if there's any questions or.
Yeah, I can do it. Is that same time-ish or?
Finance is at 6 Monday.
6.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on that? We'll go back to 5.1.1, discussion on parking lots.
Hey, parking lot gentlemen. You have the bids and so forth, right? I'm not picking on the parking lot.
Yep.
The first page, you're gonna see that I went and got a bid on lights out here for the new parking lot. And what they gotta do, they gotta order 2 new lights and a different bracket to hold the 4 lights in. And it'll fit fine, it's $800. To wire it, I called Jim Barnett and he said probably to run wires and everything to it, if I did, $1,500. So if you look at the first page, that's the new parking lot. And the busing, the 39,600. The second page is the extended parking lot. He had to change things because 50 feet this way from the new parking lot and 200 feet this way. He came on Saturday and he said that it's so broke up, it's gonna end up getting potholes in it. If it gets potholes in it, it's gonna end up getting water underneath and it would go in the new foundation. So he figured he would have to do that. The price was $16,900. He charged $1,800 to remove the old asphalt. I called Randy Olson, he said he'd do it for $600, so he saved $1,200, so it's $15,100. And you do have a diagram of the parking lot and so forth, you know. I don't understand where I'm going on this. And then the parking lot going off of 58 down where the buses are, the old gym.
Okay, so hold on just a second. So this new parking lot and fixing the big parking lot that's there, the total price of that comes to 55,000 something, you know, give or take. Because the original one we had looked at before was 39.6. So to do that project now would be 55,000.
And then we got a bid on the parking lot coming off of 58 down by the old gym. And he would be doing the parking lot, the drive all the way up past the baseball fence, all the way up here where the drop off is, past the dumpsters out to Highway 58 again. Now, right there where that speed bump is, right by Arlene Lewis's house, you know, we know that belongs to, it's kind of a private drive or whatever, but we use that more than they probably do, so. You didn't take that for what it's worth, but I just figured if we're gonna do it, we might as well just do that too. So with everything, the price is gonna be $157,650. And that doesn't cover the striping. And the striping, which we've already signed off on the new parking lot down here and the bus lane going all the way around. So that was already signed off for 2,382 and 1,495. And the additional would be $2,800. So we got it here someplace.
So you said this, the two, I'm trying to take notes, 2382 for, and 1495 for the striping up here.
Mhm.
Okay. And the striping in the bottom is,
28. You guys probably got it.
2840.
28, okay. Yeah, 2840. And that would cover everything. That would cover your handicap parking, your curbs, and it would also cover the 8 buses down below. He would paint that. He would paint the no parking areas in front of the dumpsters and the gas barrel and so on and so forth. And then up here, we would have the lanes, with a pickup lane would go like this, there'd be no cross parking. And what I want to do, I talked to Julie about this, I would like to do away with one of the handicap parking out here in the front entrance. And the reason being, it is so hard to plow that, the 2 handicaps. So I asked Jarrett, Wayne Jarrett, the one that does the striping and so forth, and he said, no, he said that you've only got one there, that's enough. And it would be a van accessible. So we would move it over, and then where that cement area is, that would be wide open for us to push snow and so forth. It'd be a lot easier for us. And besides, that handicap parking was already broke off this year because of not having enough room. Now, the area coming into Highway 58 down there, it's concrete. and you know how rough it is. I asked him whose responsibility that was, and he just kind of laughed. He says, well, it's the state's, but he said, good luck trying to get them to do anything. So he said if we wanted him to put the asphalt down, we would have to tear up the concrete. And he said Randy Olson would probably do that when he took this out up here from the parking lot. Any questions on that?
My recommendation would be that we do the one we were talking about plus the 15,000 to, make the new lot and the existing lot go together up here. So that's good. And then do the striping, but I think we would have to wait a little bit on looking at this other one till we address some of these other projects and see how much we have left, to doing, with that being 100,000 on its own.
Now, I do want to plant something in your mind, though. If you guys decide to do this one down here, it's been recommended by them, and I agree that the dumpsters out here and the dumpster down below should be on concrete. Because you put that new asphalt on a 90-degree day, it's gonna get dug up big time. And then as long as he's here doing the concrete, we would probably have him do that little drain down there in the parking lot. That's always a kind of a pain in the butt. So we would probably have him cement that, we put a grate over or whatever, we wouldn't have to worry about that.
So it's almost 60,000 with the striping. Do I have that right for the new parking lot and the bus lane? Okay.
I'd make a motion that we proceed with that. And move that on to finance. Yeah, because there was like 50,000 in the budget just for maintenance. So.
Any other discussion on that? Favor, signify by saying aye.
And Julie, you'll have those two items on the,
Yep.
and then on the regular agenda too. please?
Yep.
But then if we could have these, copies of these.
Okay.
And that for them to see, because they wouldn't have seen them.
Clarification, this includes the wiring of the new lighting.
We've not talked about the new lighting,
Okay.
but I would say that while we're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, how, we have to run that, how will you run the wiring over to those,
Over to what?
to the new poles over here?
We don't need new poles.
You wait, it's just two
wires
new
to
lights
them?
on the same pole.
Okay, he's just, the wires already to him,
Yeah.
he just got to wire them
Yeah,
up.
you just gotta wire them.
Because they only go this way. We can put things that go that way.
Okay.
That will cover the,
And it would be identical lights, it'd be the same lights we have on there now.
I would recommend that we do the lighting. $1,500.
and here I was thinking that was cheap.
I think that's cheap.
And you don't think it's cheap anymore, is it?
I'll come watch you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
100.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Did you know that's the third time he's got shot?
I'd be worried about him falling off.
The recommendation will also be for the wiring.
The wiring, the
Total
lighting.
price and the lighting.
2,300, right?
2,300 total. Yeah. Okay. That would be part of that as well. Make that recommendation. Okay, any other discussion on continued business? Now we'll move on to item 6, new business 6.1, discussion live sporting events and public comments. And I'll address this.
Yep.
I had several people point out, I was watching it. I think you took it down at the home game. I don't know who was
No.
watching.
Mr.
Or no,
Tobin.
Mr. Tomey, sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Tomey was running the. Yep, yep.
It's a good thing, so take credit.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was a good thing. The person was aware of that, of the points, the comments being made during the live feed from the gym here at the Ithaca Boys game. Then I understand, similar thing was done up at Highland. When the boys played at Highland on their video, there may not be a lot, I guess my point would be, and one way is that when we're broad, I guess, live streaming, so we did not have a chat feature. What's that?
We don't need it,
We
right?
don't need it. The only thing is, I know that some people would like, they were sending it, the volume wasn't working, there was no sound. And people would make comments, hey, there's no sound. And there was a couple times I was watching games, there was no sound. And then boom, there was sound. Somebody, I know Cammy Cleary, I think, had sent an email to, got through anyway. But, the thing that occurred up in Highland, that's just, that's an embarrassment for the school. And I guess I'm curious what kind of options we have. I mean, to sit there, harassment is not protected by the First Amendment and, things like that. But, I mean, I know that the discussion after the Ithaca, I think it was Ithaca and Weston were playing basketball, after the home event, our PIA teacher approached, I mean, you could identify who it was. And they just laughed it off. And they didn't see it as anything serious. And, but what do we have for, what do we do for away events? Do we put something, have something in the athletic, student handbook? Is there any repercussions for doing such things?
I would just say kick it to policy and, review it. And if there's nothing specific for that, that I think would be easily addressed. The part that worries me as an adult.
Yep.
How do you address that? I think there's got to be a policy that we can do that, but what are the ramifications? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
With an adult, it's almost a legal action.
Yeah.
Because they're not under school code.
writing a ticket or something, so maybe we can look into what, I have some teeth, so what.
For students, definitely,
Yeah,
because student handbook, discipline guide.
My,
Throw the book at them, but
what I've understood was that, already done all the comments here were, at least I haven't heard, I did not see what was done in Highland, but it sounded like the home game was students, and it didn't look like, I said, well, that's a student there. The Highland game, I assume it was students as well, but I don't know that. I just got
Parents there.
Was there? Okay. I mean, I remember when we had in-person games, over Wazeeka, we had a grandfather.
Yeah.
That was, and we basically notified that we could, keep them, not allow them to enter into the game, permitted to watch. But, this type of thing, I think needs to be addressed in some form or another.
Yeah.
At least get some advice.
I would just say we just shut off the comment on ours.
Yes.
And the only thing would be is, okay, now if we're having problems with sound or video, you can't tell them, but some people have ruined that because of
you
it.
can email, and Zach just needs to be
Yeah, yeah.
watching email at the same time.
My point is,
Yeah.
is if they complain about it, you're like, well, you got ruined by people's actions, and that's why we've done it, so.
And there isn't, everything I've ever watched, even before this happened, the games were like, what's the score, or, just comments on, the video and just, on the sound. Generally, very little commentary. It's meant to be a video, and that's when Phil is there, someone's there, as they're here. But anyway,
That's what's worked best. Whenever the video could be right next to
Yep.
your seal.
it is.
Otherwise, I watched it one time without, and I'm like,
Yeah.
they're too little.
Get excited how the radio broadcast works too.
Yeah.
But, okay, I guess we'll have to, the home games, I'd say just keep the video turned off, or the video, the comment page section turned off into the options that we have for away events.
We want policy to address that at some point before the next year.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whatever time we need to get it done, so if we have to put it in the handbook, it can be in for next year's.
Chris and I are gonna review the student handbook and the discipline guide that goes along with it, that are both policies, so I know there's words in there.
Yeah. And sometimes we have these things as these new things come up that we've never had, like vaping and all that, I mean, you just gotta tweak some things to address them, so.
Okay, anything else on that? Moving on, item 6.2, discussion on basketball winches. I know this has been a discussion in the past, and
Okay, if you look at the first page, Winches, this is the guy I would recommend if we're gonna do it. He does a fantastic job. His bid is a little higher than BR Bleachers, but BR Bleachers has a tendency to do a bunch of add-ons. Like, one of them is a mandatory service fee was $389. And then for a lift is another $250 charge. And I went and called Winches, and he doesn't have any extra charges. He said when it comes, he brings his own lift and so forth. They do a really good job. If you look at the third page, you'll see some of these cables, the way they do it. And it's loose all the time, and they get wrapped up in there, and it's pretty dangerous. And then the last one, you can see we got 2 of these cables that sprayed. So we're gonna have to change cable regardless of anything else.
With this, they have the new controls and the cable and everything is all.
Yes,
all done.
it'll be a box, or, excuse me, a box of key remote, all the cables and so forth. The only thing we have to do is the wiring.
Okay.
And that's what both do, but we have to provide our own electricity. And
We've talked about this for a couple of years. I would say that we've got extra money in the year end, we might as well address it before one of them comes crashing down.
And you know, one problem we have with this is, we've got so many different people operating. We've got coaches, some kids do it, fire ed teachers, custodians and so forth. Some of them raise the backstops up too high, and that crossbar that goes across the back, when I came on in days, that thing was broke for about 3 years. And you could just hear it rattle, and because it puts too much tension on it. With these winches and so forth, it would stop at a certain point, so.
I think that'd be our recommendation for the Weimers
Yes, that would be my recommendation.
to do that and put it on to finance.
Yeah.
That'd be the recommendation for favor of that.
Yep.
I am as well, so we'll pass it along to that on to finance as well.
Making my stack.
It's already a 2-page agenda, gentlemen, I'm sorry.
Item 6.3, discussion on mission and vision placement.
So we have mission and vision, and basically what we have, and it's up there, we had nice little posters made. One, they're a little too small to read. 2, the one we put in the cafeteria, we now need to find a new place for what was there. And when we redid this as a team, everybody had their 2 cents, and we really wanted to make sure it's promoted, and we're constantly bringing that up in our meetings as admin. But we want to make sure that the one in the cafeteria stays and looks nice. What we need to do then is talk about where the other things need to go. So basically, we prioritized the vision and mission placement to stay where it is, and then the other things can be slipped in where they need to be slipped in.
Where are the other things that are there?
The other things would be the wrestling plaques and the track plaques. We've got 2 track plaques with the state champions and so forth in the past, and they're not even hung up yet. Because that's where the wrestling plaques are, underneath the track people.
Mhm.
And the wrestlers is for that mission statement. So,
There's just no space in the cafeteria
No,
anymore
there
for
isn't.
every single plaque. And I love that we keep all that stuff, but you know, maybe when the entire team has died, we can then put, sorry, that was being snarky, but something from the 40s that they won, do we still have it in the trophy case? I don't know. So it's a space issue. We have space issues all over.
We could digitize the class pictures. That would free up a lot of space.
We've talked about that too. We could very easily buy,
Whole hallway.
yep, we'd have the whole hallway then for everything else. So
I'd do it, but
no, we've talked about like what you literally, you take a picture of the picture.
Yep.
And then you categorize it and put them in and have an iPad sitting there, and anybody that wants to look, they can just swipe, and you can do a search by a last name or a year. You take a picture of the whole picture. It would be a really neat thing to do with all of them, because within like 3 years, we're out of room for those also. Even with the brand new board, that one was relatively new. So, and again, it's part of a bigger picture. Mission and vision should go up. We want to honor all the pictures and the plaques and the work that everybody has done, all the sports teams, all the individuals. But we have to get a little more realistic on what we can still hang up.
I would say we want to take a little walk around and see what might be what.
You could add address item 4 that we moved to the bottom of the tour. Walk up there, take a look.
Okay.
Okay. Item 6.4, discussion of bus shop, office, lockers, weight room, bus shelter.
So this was a suggestion that you guys had. If you're going to, and again, part of it was looking at it from the tour point of view. There's got to be a better use of space in the community gym. The locker rooms are not very usable. The football players use the loft to change in. The middle school kids usually use the bathrooms. They will go down and put their stuff in the, but they don't like those locker rooms either. So is there a way for us to take care of all of these with a new building? I don't know.
Was we planning on doing a walk around or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
we just moved it.
After.
No, and that's
Until
fine, because I do have something to show you guys that might fix something, but I don't know. See.
We talked about this after last meeting, got walking around. If you take, the locker rooms down there are terrible shape. We gotta do something if they're gonna keep
Gross
using
and
that.
nasty.
Yes. And I got thinking about this one day. If we could get a new weight room someplace, we could take the weight room that's there now, split that, make that into locker rooms. You could still have them as dressing rooms or whatever for if they had plays or whatever down there, musicals or whatever. Plumbing and everything's right below them. It would be relatively easy, easier than most things. Remodel that, and then you just get rid of the, locker rooms. You just, wouldn't use them. I don't know if there's potentially, we could reuse the lockers or something, whatever. But anyways, you can move that up there. Take the old bus garage and the office that's there, make that into a weight room. Remodel that, make that into, you have 2 pretty good weight rooms. Build a new bus garage with, with a bay and cover over the buses like we want to. That's the cheapest building you could build. You're talking more like a pole building, insulate what you need to insulate in that. You can build that for a heck of a lot less than you can build any kind of a locker room. So, we're getting, really, we've talked about doing the bus building, we do it where it's at down there now, put a lean-to over the buses this way and then go along that back end potentially for your bus garage, and you probably want an office of some kind down there and that. So kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, the first part would be getting somebody to come in and look at things, and the bus garage would be a separate bid, but then the locker rooms and the weight room and that kind of stuff was going to take the remodel to do that. You'd have to get somebody to come in, and I don't know if somebody that builder that could build a bus garage, if they could do the remodel on the other stuff too. I don't know. Of course, there's going to be some plumbing in both.
Yeah.
Or someone like a general contractor that can see all the pieces versus this is my specialty.
But to me, that's by far the cheapest way. If we talk about if we come up here and build, a new gym or a locker room or something up here, that's going to be a much more expensive than that, and that still doesn't get our buses covered. And this way, I think it's the cheapest thing. Now it's just getting the ball rolling. Somebody that knows more about that might look at that and go, it's not feasible. You know what I mean? But to me, it's the cheapest and fastest solution to start looking at.
Would you talk about tearing the other sheds down then?
I don't know. Yeah, potentially, maybe, Cause some of those other things, you know, you look at and say, okay, if we have this now, we don't need those, you know, and can we get rid of those and lose some space? That's all above my pay grade. And, you know, you get some guys that, like Kathleen said, that, you know, you start looking at some of that stuff. Those guys that do that every day will come in and they'll see stuff you never thought of.
Yep.
And, you know, the down here, that project, you know, if you get somebody coming in, you know, you get plumbers coming in, the general contractor looking in, they might look at that and say, that locker room, and, you know, it's not doable. You know, then you're kind of,
Compared to, you know, like a pole structure that's insulated to do the same thing versus that old gym tuck pointing and all that
yeah.
goes with it, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything else about the old gym, you know, if you're gonna do it at the same time, I'd redo the roof on the old gym. It was like $30,000 or $40,000 a few years ago. Obviously gone up. But, you know, because we've always said, you know, what do you do with that old gym? But now, you know, we've got new lights, we've got, you know, bleachers been redone, a lot of stuff, you know.
Well, not only that, but if you tear that old gym down, that's the asbestos roof.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost a fortune to abate that.
But what's the biggest kink and everything in that right now is the locker rooms are terrible, you know. So I don't know what the next step is, if we can talk to, you know, a couple of guys that, you know, somebody that might, you know, give us some ideas on a bus garage, and I don't know if it's the same people, if they'd be interested in looking at, you know, and then probably like a plumber, you know, get a couple plumbers come in and be the first step and start looking at, you know, the locker room and the drains and all that. What's that doable if we can send that down through, you know? Because that might be the whole.
And if it's, you know, like somebody to be honest about whether or not it's worth it
Yeah.
in the long run.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, I can make a buck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you.
But on that, you know, like I said, you kind of would kill 3 birds with 1 stone, because they give them, when they do, you know, plays and musicals, they have dressing rooms right there.
I think if you didn't do the plumbing, it'd be a real easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put
Oh, you
just
got that
benches
done.
on every wall.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a nice big locker, because generally you have one team. I mean, we have football, I mean, obviously you have the visiting team, but they
Yeah.
generally use,
But you're talking junior high though, too, is the most used.
True.
You have 2 teams, so.
Yeah.
You look at, you know, but you know, I know there's where that old, you know, what used to be our old weight room, you know, and then there's some storage in there, you know.
Yeah.
You might be able to redo everything
And not do lockers, just do hooks, you know, because it's a visiting team. It's not like the kids are leaving stuff.
but that would be my recommendation, if we could, you know, get some plumbers or somebody to come in that, you know, is gonna give us honest opinion of, you know, yeah, this is doable, and then, you know, if we get a couple of, you know, start to get an idea of what we want as for a bus garage, you know, I'm assuming you'd want an office and stuff down there, and a bathroom, and
It's got some good potential.
yeah, you know, it might, maybe it hits a roadblock, but at least we go that route first, and
Yeah,
then,
explore the option,
yeah.
see what we can get. Most cost effective. Okay. What would be,
I would say call a couple of plumbers.
Yeah.
First, I don't know who,
Well, Foster's out plumbing right now, and I tell you, I couldn't be happy with him.
okay.
And he does.
Have them look at some of that and just get their ideas of whether it's even possible, because that's gonna be the biggest holdup. You know what I mean? If we can't,
But you wanna know if you can run water up above.
water and the drains, you know, if we do showers, and, you know, because maybe we say, okay, we can't do showers, but at least we could remodel and have.
Sinks. Or-
Well, you could just do,
Well, there is water.
you wouldn't want a big shower room or
No.
shower area, just have a couple, 3 individual.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a big deal.
No, I don't think, I agree. I don't think,
I don't think we
I
gotta
just-
have, we don't have to have one of 5 or 6
no.
things in it. Just
Isn't there a sink in the back there?
yep. There's
Yeah, that's what I
crawling
thought.
up to that back room. I'm just kind of thinking
Yeah,
about
it's
that
funny.
back room could be like the bathroom, shower room.
We already got water up there, I believe.
That might not be
The
as
rest of
bad.
it would be,
The drains would be the biggest thing, you know, and then you'd want a couple of sinks, you know,
Yep.
and toilet, obviously, you know, but they would know how to, you know,
Correct.
because if we're gonna abandon the rooms down below or convert them into, you know, some kind of storage or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever, we can box off, or, you know, we're not worrying about having plumbing or whatever in the way of anything, because you could always throw if we have plumbing coming down in a certain spot, you can always throw a stub wall, a cheap stub wall into, you know, to block it off so people can't get back to that.
You just have to, because of the open drains and because it'd be a sewer smell after a while, but you know, you can just go back there and dump some water in there, like every 3 months or something.
And
2
put a
months.
little, oil, vegetable oil on top, because that won't evaporate as fast, seals it in. So, but thank you. Thank you. So that's what I would recommend doing that, and then I don't know if we can talk to, you know, I know Danny Clary had given a bid on the roof a few years back.
Yeah, it was like $34,000. That was probably about 3 years ago.
Yeah, we got 2 guys right here in
Yeah,
the district
Tomlin's
that would, I know I've had
Yeah,
lengthy conversation with Brad about this.
you know, maybe we can talk to both those guys and they could start giving an idea of what a bus garage, you know, we don't have to have details, just, you know, if we we kind of know we want to lean to this so long to cover the buses and, you know, if we did a garage and, you know, a couple offices or something like that, you know, they could get us, you know, we know what is it, 75,000 or 350,000, you know what I mean? It's gonna get us in a ballpark, so maybe, you know, maybe if you
I
want
was talking to guys from Brickles the other day about just a regular old machine shed now, and I thought he told me it was around $65 a square foot, but I might be,
that sounds about right, because when we did ours, it was $50.
because that's just poles and tin. If you start insulating, making shop, then it was, I think it almost doubled. It was like $120. I went and bought 204s the other day, at $87 for 10 204s.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Don't try and build anything right now.
Yeah, so that might be a thing where, you know, we just kind of start to get some things and then, you know, wait for a little bit, because it'll come down and, you know, it just, yeah. But anyways, they could give us a general idea and, you know, maybe do some drawings and kind of get an idea, you know, what I mean? A lot of times you compare and you get ideas from different things and you're like, okay, I never even thought about that. But I don't know if you want to have Brad call Julie and,
Yeah, I'll talk to Brad.
yeah, and I'll talk to Danny, and then we can, that's a starting point, you know, maybe they can.
You know,
start
we
putting some-
might be able to use that old garage down there. Elton Moore used to use it, but, you know, maybe you could build off of that. I want it to look nice. I want it to be
Some of those
cobbled up.
guys.
Well, and
they'll give you ideas.
those buildings leak
Yeah.
and then and the water runs through them
I would
underneath.
Take my time to tear them suckers down. Put the blade on the packing tractor and start pushing.
The cool part is the bonfire's right there.
So,
Yeah,
there's a little we're doing that and
I'm in agreement.
getting,
We'll get some calls out to some plumbers, construction, local people, get an idea of what it's gonna cost. Anything else on that? Okay, we'll go on to 6.5, discussion of adding an entrance button and / doorbell.
So it has been mentioned that our camera button is this big and it's one button. And so if you are handicapped, it's very hard to reach up and push it. Now Frank went out there with a child and the child could reach it. But if you are physically handicapped and your hand doesn't work like everybody else's hand does, it's really hard to push. So we talked about, I think I talked about it with Kathleen, just so you know. Frank's looking at me like, you never talked to me.
I wouldn't have remembered anyway.
Okay, maybe we can get a poll on it or something, but there should be something easier for a handicapped person to access that button.
we know who put that one in, was that?
Access Security put it down, and I called Jeff and talked to him, and now he recommended, and you know, I didn't exactly explain to him about somebody
Right,
that
that's-
wouldn't be able to use their hands or whatever, like the rest of us, but he recommended leaving it as it is, because, you know, at one time you thought it was too high for like kids.
Right,
And we took Brooks' little boy out there, he's in first grade, and he pushed it. And Sarah looked and she couldn't see him very good, and she said, just step back. She stepped back and she see him fine then.
Sure.
In the same way with Paula Boland's little girl. you know, once you step back, everything was good. But I understand what you're saying. Now, and I did ask Jeff about moving that button, and he said he'd have to look at it. Because the wires can only go so far, and he didn't want to splice them because then he'd worry about it not a good contact.
Well, yeah, and it's outside and all that kind of stuff,
We can have them come and look at it and see if we can get that button down a little bit further and so forth.
right? You know, we do have people that just can't use their hands like everybody else can, and that's okay.
I guess
We want them to have access to the building also.
I would just have them look at it, and then potentially if there's a new or different style that they use now.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they, you know, they can look at it and then give us a bid on a couple different options on it.
Anything else on that? Item 6.6, a discussion on kitchen, refrigerator, freezer.
Okay, the next packet I gave you guys. I could not get bid for the freezer. He was supposed to have it today at 11 o'clock, and they had to send it over to the engineers. The engineers wouldn't sign off on it because they had to do some other stuff. And he said after looking at it, and Cheryl and I have already talked about this, because we thought the condenser in the old cooler should be replaced, because it's 11 feet long, 7 feet 1 inch wide, and now you're adding another 9 feet onto that, so you're like 20 feet. And after saying this Don Mason, he said the same thing. He said, after looking at that and going over it, Frank, he said, we think we should have a new condenser on the old one too. Again, it's 26, 27 years old, so. So anyway, he hasn't got us a bid on it. But we did get a bid to knock out the wall and extend it out. And you can see what that one is. That's 28,300 and some bucks.
So the existing freezer is not big enough, just so you know.
Yeah. And the new freezer is going to be 15 feet, 5 inches long, and 13 feet, 6 inches wide. And again, that's 202 square feet. What we got now is 62 square feet. So it's going to make a big difference.
So is this going to be outside mainly? Is it
It'll be out in courtyard.
indoor, outdoor?
That's the only way we can go.
Right.
Yeah. It wouldn't be indoor. They would still access it through the building, but it would be situated in the courtyard,
Right.
sticking out.
Just like bulk tanks. Bulk
Yeah,
tanks, like outside.
so, they'll have, you haven't seen any price of ballpark?
I have not seen any price on it, no, but we did have another guy come out from Lodi. And he forgot about the appointment this morning, so he came out this afternoon at 2 o'clock. And we went over it, Cheryl, him and I went over it. And he figured between the freezer and busting that wall down, because you have to get a crane in there and get everything over and so forth, he figured it was gonna be around $60,000.
So 30 to 60,000, it's a ballpark, and that's not for the freezer.
Well, that should be the freezer and the demolition.
Oh, okay.
And a concrete slab and so forth.
There is some money left over in the food service
Yes.
one. That's why I just had them talk about this, you know, because, you know, if, say we would ever go back to doing our own, you know, food service, it enables us. So there's some money in there, and I don't quote me on this, but I thought there was around 20,000.
It's, yeah,
In there that would have to be spent on food service stuff.
yeah.
So you're another 30,000.
Third of the way there.
Third of the way there, and those are, I mean, they're just out of space. And if we ever are, you know, potentially would go back to doing our own for some reason or another, you have to do this.
Now, I did talk to him that because I believe I'm talking to the people that actually, you know, work in there, because they're gonna come up with plans, or is it something that we wanna do that they don't think we should do? And she said, I don't know if we need that big of a cooler. And I said, I know we thought about that, but I mean, we really don't have much of a choice unless we have the storage. He said, well, you know what? We could put water in there, because how many times do we don't have cold water? You know, especially in sporting events and so forth. We could actually have one section for the community or something to put their stuff and then the other stuff for the kitchen, so that would work out nice.
I don't know if anybody's thought of this, but I would guess you have another $5,000 worth of racking.
The racking's included.
Racking's included, okay.
But you would have to have $5,000 for electrician to wire everything.
There has been grants for equipment for kitchens. So we got a stovetop, not a stovetop, oven top, yeah, stovetop with a cupboard underneath for free through the DPI grant process. So hopefully they'll have another one when we're ready to do this, then and they might not pay for all of it, but even if, $1,000 is still $1,000 less we have to pay.
This would have to be a summer project, obviously. because-
Oh, yeah. And maybe not even this summer.
Yeah. And another thing, we talked about taking out the door in between it would be basically the new cooler because it would take over the freezer space too. And he said after the engineers looked at it, he said they not only want to take the door off, they want to take the complete panel off because the airflow would be a lot better.
Sure.
So, and he said there's going to be a few more upgrades that they never thought of when they came and looked at it. So, yeah.
You're probably talking 60,000.
Yeah, 30 to 60, that's pretty good window.
Yeah, I know.
Anything else on that?
Right.
Well,
I would recommend that we put this on finance just to start talking about it, but then table it till we get
Yep.
information. But, just because we're gonna have, in the next couple of weeks, we're talking about a lot of projects. And it's good to have them in your mind, you know what I mean? When you start,
Talking about the overall picture.
all of a sudden you just hand out the slice and you're like, oh, I would rather spend it on this, so.
And food for thought too, it takes forever to get anything anymore. You're talking 12 to 14 weeks sometimes to get something. So, if it is something you want to do in the summertime,
Might be too late already.
it might be, yeah.
We did, just so you know, we did talk about getting our own food service back. That is an option that we have. I reread the contract to see if we're both agreeable, there's a 30-day thing on it. Otherwise, it's by May 1. So that might end up on an agenda someplace. One of your workers in the kitchen really, really wants to do it herself. So I don't know, Cheryl hasn't done any costing on it, but that. See,
She likes it.
well, and I don't want to rush into anything because it's working right now. And it might, and I said, probably not this year because it has to be both agreed upon. And I don't know, maybe they have their contracts all made up already over there for everybody that got hired. I don't know.
How is it that we have money left over in that account?
Just because we're the prices that we've set our prices, off of their prices. And so then they're just making a little bit.
We're making.
Yeah, just a very little bit, but then it adds up,
And it adds up. And then at the end of the school year, we have to pay them for a certain amount of lunches. We did negotiate that down.
Well, that's what I was wondering, 'cause I knew we had to do it in the past. Lunches that didn't get eaten.
Yeah.
Right. And this year's going to be whack because all the food's free. So.
And that's part of it too. Some of the grants, the food has been paid for, so.
But they still have to pay their employees.
Sure.
So it's just it's going to be a weird year this year. So we don't know what's going to happen with it.
Right, if we're ever gonna do it, because I don't think we'll have this kind of money, it's not uncommon to have 2,000 or 3,000 or something like that left over, but because of the way the food situation is this year, this might be the year to, potentially move forward on something like that.
I guess pass it on to finance. See what happens. 6.7, discussion of interactive TVs and computers for staff.
So Adam said he was going to get me a bid. I haven't gotten that bid yet.
Is that the one that was the 63,000 for
Yep.
all of, basically replacing all the whiteboards with smart TVs?
Yep. So, yeah. You asked for a bid on the 6,300 for the middle school laptops and the high school desktops. And then, and that was 6,300 and 4,200.
We approved that already in the last meeting.
And then, so let me read my notes real quick. So we managed to put a couple in our Title IV budget. So if we could technically, between the Title IV budget and the REAP grant money, we could buy all of those and we have two, well, we'll be applying for another REAP grant soon, but we have 2 REAP grants and we could cover the TVs between the Title IV and the REAP grants.
Yeah, so there's about 80,000 between the two, and the bid for that was 63. And I'm still gonna guess that there's gonna be some costs in getting the fiber hooked up and internal stuff. So between those, two, REAP has to be spent on technology, right?
Well, that's one of the things that needs to be spent.
So to me, that 80,000 that we have there, might as well upgrade those, do all the smart TVs and all that kind of stuff, get that addressed.
And so we do have the money for that. So you guys need to, you need to approve basically us. Well, you don't really technically need to approve us spending our REAP money, but knowing that we're spending that much money on computers and interactive TVs and stuff is something you guys should be aware of.
So I would recommend doing that. And then same thing, we'll move it on to finance, it's nice to know that, because we've talked about doing that. We were potentially talking to use the COVID money. So now we know that frees up, basically $75,000 of that COVID money. And this money has to be spent by in this budget year.
Yeah, one of them needs to be done. The one grant, 2 of them have to be spent by 31st of December.
That'd be my recommendation. We move that on to finance.
And the board?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. I'm just making sure I'm writing them all down.
Yep, put it on both agendas.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? 6.8 discussion, air conditioning, air cleaning.
All right, so
Video.
You did see the
I
video.
looked at it.
My only question, the first one that was sent by, was that through the upper 90 guys?
The first one was upper 90.
Okay, and that's
And the second one was precision control. One was IAQ and the other one was
so the
GPS.
upper 90 guys would take care of
Yes.
and getting that, kind of
Yes.
like the general, getting it installed and all that.
Yep, we're gonna install it. And again, both of them will come to the school board meeting and explain everything and answer any questions. Now, I did get a bid from both of them. The GPS from Precision Control was 41,000 plus. And the system from Upper 90 was 24,000. And once again, like I said, I don't like add-ons and Precision, and again, Precision Control would be nice if they could do it because they do our HVAC system, but this is a whole different, deal, so it doesn't really matter. The IAQ thing from Upper 90, he really didn't have any add-ons. He said it's 2 generators, and again, he can explain better than I do, but it's 2 generators instead of 1. So it will produce more negative ions than positive, and negative ions is the good one. And he's saying that all the rest of them, it produces 50% of each and then it sends it out. Well, by the time it gets to the rooms and so forth, there's more positive and negative ions. Well, what this system is supposed to do is make more negative ions than positive, so when it gets to the room, it's 50-50. Again, that's the story, so you can take that from the point.
Well, so basically both the systems it's just like an air cleaning system. It, charges them things so that your air filtration system can clean them out easier and better. And I was more impressed with the upper 90s one than the other one.
I was
It
too.
was talking about it senses what it's needed and it will do them, it kind of works the same way as like a waterfall or something, just the way it's
creates the ions.
yeah, it's the ions and stuff like that, it cleans the air. But that system, that's why I was interested to see the price tag on. I would have guessed that one would have been twice as much.
Yeah, now, this is not hooked up to internet system. So if we had that hooked up to that, so we could, say, let's produce more ions and all this stuff, it'd be another 25 to 50,000 more. But neither is precision control.
Yeah. And the one from upper 90s said that by doing this and by the way they would hook it into the system, it could save us heating energy
Yes.
because we don't have to bring as much outside air in.
Yeah.
Because by, having cleaner inside air, we can recirculate. And y'all know, bringing outside air in, it's too warm and you're cooling it, or it's too cold and you're heating it. So there's potential.
And upper 90, everything that we've done with them, they treated us fair. I don't think they make a sales pitch as much as trying to get us the best product. And I'm not promoting them over precision control by no means, but it's a newer system than the other one. And like I said, the GPS, Brookwood Schools, Preferred Schools, Kickapoo Schools, Vine Roper, and I think it's Westby, I called all of them, Mission Center Hospital and Vernon Manor. And they all were very happy with it. So, and this other system, like I said, it's new. So again.
They don't have a track record is how they put
They
it.
don't have a track record, but Ben Turpin, I think you remember him. He went down to Texas for like 7 different times to learn this stuff. And he tried to learn the other stuff too, and he said he was more impressed than this. So.
The biggest thing is that the filters are the key thing, because the ionization makes everything clot together and then the filters can pick it out, but you need to make sure you're paying attention to your filters. So we'll probably use more filters and
We might be changing them once, instead of every 3 months, we might be changing every 6 weeks or something.
And can both those guys can come Monday?
Yes, Precision Control, Donnie Wall, that's, you probably know him, and he'll bring an engineer with him, and they'll answer the questions and so forth, and Ben Turpin said he'd be available also. If you want me to let him know, I can.
Just even on a regular flu years and stuff like that, just any.
What is the ESSER 2 funds or?
well, we can talk about, so the sheet I gave you, this actually was what Cheryl had shared with us at the last board meeting with all of this. And I wrote, there's a negative 5,000 at the bottom. So you've seen this before. It hasn't been updated. She's hoping to get it done for the board meeting. I didn't give this to you, Frank, sorry, but you can look at mine. So she took, and again, you've seen this before. So there's about $140,000 for the wages, no full-time director of transportation, all of that stuff. We saved about $140,000 on that. And then the buildings and grounds, there's your 50,000 that Steve was talking about. But there's another 120 possible leftover, but she said, we have already spent something. I think it might have been a REAP grant, but it might have been a different one. I'm just trying to remember. So I know there's a 5,000 less, but if you add 139 and 120. So,
That we have left over.
That we have left over, and that's not including the 140,000 COVID money either.
right. So the COVID money, we have 3 different grants. So ESSER 1 was 42,450. We basically spent all of that on cleaning supplies, added hours for staff. This gears money is 62,000, and that's all, we spent a lot of money on staff. All the subs that we've had here, we have like 3 full-time subs here all the time. That's gonna suck all of that up. But the ESSER 2 money is 167,625. We have yet to touch that. And we might be getting more money because the federal thing was just passed, but that has not even been thought of. So-
May, just understand that it's gonna be rolled out, what the devil the details on that.
For me, on the ESSER money, the COVID money, I think we have to be a little more careful what we're spending that on.
Yep.
That's why, so if we look over here, so if we would, we say we've said we're gonna spend like $20,000 on the ESSER 2 money on some of that technology that we
Mhm.
passed already, so you're down to 140. So say you'd have 40 or 50,000 you'd spend on the air filtration system, which would be
Very,
nice to have, and we've talked about it, but you've never had budget money to ever do it. You'd still have 100,000 left over to do that. We switch gears and go back to what money is left over here. You basically, if you take the bottom one, that's 120,000, you take 60,000 out of that, make it 80,000, right? Because we said we spent 60,000 on the parking lot. So that means there's 80,000 left there, and that's just in budgeted items not used. So there's your $80,000 for the playground. That still leaves us $140,000 of, budgeted money that was on, for wages and bennies and that we could address, part of the freezer project if we think we're going there, or if we think we'd rather do a parking lot project and get that stuff done. And then that still would leave us $100,000 of ESSER money. But the money over here in the budget and the wages in that is money that we can do on playground, on
anything.
anything.
It's our money.
That other money, the ESSER 2 money, things like technology, air system, and that is very easy to do that. That's why I would recommend that we move forward and have both those guys come next week and we talk about it, and whatever system we think is better. I think in the long run, it's just, the cleaner you keep everything, it just makes it easier for whatever, and it also makes your heating and HVAC systems run better.
Yeah.
Really in the long run. We know we went years that, we didn't probably maintain quite as well as we could have. And
Is that 7 o'clock Monday?
so,
Yes, 7 o'clock, not this Monday,
easy,
a week from Monday, the 12th.
we're in a
Wait,
situation.
is that this Monday?
I think it's Monday.
Oh, it is this Monday.
That's what I thought.
Sorry.
Well, that would be the 12th though.
Yeah, it is the 12th.
Run them to run operating stuff. And we can attack some much needed things and get them checked off.
I would like to add too, I almost forgot. Now, that does not include the lower gym. They did, both of them recommend not put anything in the bus barn because, it's, they said it really isn't worth it. They would put it in the locker room, in the gym, and in the concession stand
Go down there.
down there, yeah, if we wanted.
Yeah, and I think we would probably hold on that until we figure out what the project is, if we're remodeling that. Right now.
Focus on these goals.
Yeah,
Okay, so have them, tell them to show up on Monday. It's,
Okay, got it down.
we'll have that in finance too.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on that?
Put them near the top of the agenda.
6.9, discussion on batteries replaced on the AED defibrillator.
Okay, the defibrillator in the commons was buzzing, so I took it out and the battery was dead. And I mentioned this a long time ago, before Julie was here. And Julie didn't know nothing about this. And I said that defibrillator is under lock and key in the commons. And the key is kept in Mary Jones above her desk. Well, that doesn't do any good on a basketball game when nobody has a key to her office. So anyway, after talking to Joey, we disconnected everything and so forth. So now it's not locked. If no buzzer goes off, we've got cameras. If anybody's messing with it, we know. So anyway, we bought a battery. It was $246 because that's the bigger defibrillator.
How many of those do we have?
We have 4.
4. And are they all about the same age?
No, the one in the lower gym was a recent one bought by the
Lions.
Lions Club. And I think that's 2024, something like that, when the battery's supposed to go out. The one up in the football field, which will go to the baseball field, then that was 2022. And I believe the one that's in the office right now, which will go to the softball field, I believe that's 22 or 23. And what Julie kind of recommended for me to do is just check them every summer.
Yeah.
And then buy them accordingly, you know, and not 2 years in advance or whatever, but maybe a year or 6 months in advance and so forth. And that way it would never be done.
You'd sure rather trade them, put them, new ones in 6 months early than 6 months too.
Well, that
Yeah.
one time when you don't do it, that's that one time you might need it, so.
There probably needs to be a budgeted thing, so we get it in the,
Yeah, now, and again, this $246, that's gonna be the most expensive one, 'cause that's the bigger one. I think the other one was $149 or something like
so
that.
that one's bought already?
This one's bought already.
That's under your,
Yep, it's just, we just wanted to let you know that there's a process in this. And when you see like $1,000 for batteries, you're gonna be like, what?
but that's good, but that should be budgeted in, so that way,
Yeah, and really, I mean, the most we'd ever probably spend in 1 year is like $300, because if we had to buy 2 of those other ones, it'd be $298.
Yeah,
my recommendation is be as if they're doing 2022, that at the end of the school year 21, I would change them. You know what I mean, going into the,
it's just one of those things. It's like the filters that started getting changed.
Google calendars. Start putting them in there,
I love it.
and they give you a little reminder.
Okay, anything else on that? 6:10, discussion of Sonic Plus.
Oh, can I go back 1 second? Just so you know, we will have to keep a defibrillator up in the, and get training for the elementary staff. We're going to have a young person here that may need it. So one of the reasons that sparked this discussion, so,
No pun intended.
yeah. Oh, sorry. No, it wasn't. Oh.
Discussion on 6:10, discussion on Sonic Bus.
All right, so we have an estimate for repairs on our bus. It's the 2006 International. It's the one that's out, that had the sign on it. We could fix it for $3,000, or we could just sell it.
Do we use it?
Nope. We only, yeah, we always,
Do we have,
what?
how many extra buses do we have?
That would still leave us with 2 extras and the
Extras.
20 passenger. So. And we did pretty good on the last
I
one.
second that motion.
Recommendation is to sell the bus.
I'll put that on, you want it on finance or just board?
Just board.
Well, we remember how we didn't think we were going to get anything, and we did, so.
Okay, 6:11, discussion on shower stall plumbing.
Okay, Jeff Foster gave me some prices and so forth, and it came to about $400 to $500 per unit, and we have 22 units. So anyway, I called him back up and I said, look, I said, you've got down a cartridge, but you don't have down the shut off. I don't know what the heck you call it right now. Anyway, there's 2 of those, and they're like $4 or something a piece. So he said, tell you what, let me come and look at it. So he came today, coincidentally. Anyway, he said, so he looked at it and he said the cartridge needs to be changed on all of them. It's $88. And he was surprised that they haven't been changed now because it's, you know, 26, 7 years old. He said, oh my God, I can't believe it lasted this long. But anyway, the faceplate is $150, but I said, I don't think we need a faceplate. I mean, the ones we got are not that bad. I mean, we don't have to have them shining, and they're not, you know, bad or anything like that. They're just a little pitted. So that's $150. I mean, that saves us $4,048 right there. And then the handles was $4 a piece. I don't think we need those. So I don't think it's gonna cost that much. I asked him if that's something that Larry or I could do. And he said, that's entirely up to you, Frank. I said, no, I wanna know if you think if somebody else can do it, or you think it's something that you guys should do, because again, I don't wanna tackle something and screw it up. So anyway, he said, let me check on things, and he said, I'll let you know. So this is gonna be a summer project anyway, but I don't think it's gonna cost us nowhere near what it was going to cost us. And we still gotta use the Bradley parts, because I think I told you last meeting that you had to bust everything out and replace it, and not putting down our last plumbers, but it took us 3 to 4 months to get a small part.
Yeah.
And they blamed Bradley, and I don't know if it was Bradley's fault. Because he said he doesn't have any problem, because he said these Bradleys are in every school. So,
So what do you think, an estimated need, if you take those out?
well, if it's, I don't know.
Well, you said it was $400 to $500
Per unit, and like I said, I don't know what he would charge for labor if he did it, but if we did it, I think we could do it probably for $1,500.
So check in a little bit more and then come back, and I would say that definitely if we can do it, either way, I think, because we're losing a lot of water now.
Oh, we're losing a lot of water, and not only that, but it's bad for the area too, you know, because it's always humid.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm curious if you felt like one time, during the summer, you want to just try to tackle it, or sometime you have time, try to tackle one.
You see, that's what I told him. I said, if you order it, I said, maybe we'll tackle it, and then we'll let you know if we need help.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't think it's that hard, because the cartridge is the first thing you see. You take the plate off, the hand off, the plate off, and there it is. And it's got a couple, 3 screws, you pull it out. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's something we can do. Well, I take that back. I shouldn't say $1,500 with 88, whatever 88 times 22 is. So you're probably looking right around $2,000 right there. But still, even if we go 3,000, that's better than.
Yeah, I'd say go ahead.
go ahead and go ahead and try one and see what you think, and then
That's what I think to do.
and then come back and tell.
Water comes flying out all over, we'll blame you, that's all right. Blame us.
And if I drown them, what?
Yeah, well.
We own the swamp down here, so
We'll get
nobody will know.
There you go.
Water level.
We'll plant you a tree out there, Frank.
Thank you the best.
Koi, some koi fish in it or something. Okay, anything else on that? 12, discussion of memorial for the O'Connells for a track plaque.
So and again, I brought this up to you guys because we had talked about memorials. What they did was Deb said she would give the track coach some money, and the track coach wants to put up a plaque that says a memorial from Jay for one of our students that had some nice records last year. So I don't know if we should continue to do that. Again, it's another thing to put up in the hallway.
Go out there, maybe we can look at it.
She says there's room, but where she wants to put it. But all I can think of is there's not always going to be room. So, and Jay was a track coach for so many years. So I think that's why the family wanted that.
Okay, item 7, discussion of other matters of building and grounds.
Okay, you want to have one more packet? Steve, you asked me about bleachers.
This is from, right now, we keep moving the football bleachers to the baseball and softball diamonds, and they're getting pretty banged up.
They are terrible shape. Okay, I reached out to 3 different, really, I reached out to 4 different bleacher companies. You won't see Marshfield on here because they're very, very expensive because they don't deal in bleachers. They subcontract them out. The first one is Midwest. Now, you mentioned getting 3 bleachers, Steve. We took 5 up there, so I got a bid for 3 and for 5. The first one is $5,238 per bleacher. And then the transport kit, which is something that is supposed to be built on the bleachers. You put tires on it with a little tug and so forth, you can move them around. And that would be nice. So 3 bleachers with that, with a freight charge of $18,338.
But do we need something like that if we're gonna not move them anymore,
Well,
or what? I mean,
they recommend it, but again, you're talking about something that's gonna make extra money. So again, they recommend it, but I don't think if we're gonna keep them down there, the football players could carry them around,
Just push them back and then.
Now, I also got a price on 21-foot bleachers. Because if you order 3 21-foot bleachers that seat 70 a piece, that's 210 people in a bleacher, or 210 for 3 bleachers. And if you buy 4 of the 15-footers, you're looking at 200 because that seats 50. And the 15-footer is going to be more. B&R bleachers, you can see how much they are. They give us a price for the 5-row 15-foot and then a 5-row supposed to be 21-foot.
What are the ones that we have? What brand are they, do you know? right?
No, and you know, the last one is the one I was impressed in the most, because some of these people put, oh, you know, the foot, rubber foot pad and all this stuff, well, that's standard. You know, all that stuff doesn't have to be put on there. K bleachers and VR bleachers, that's what they do. And like I said, VR bleachers is just like the Winches, they do add-ons. And I've never been crazy about that. The K Park Recreation out of Janesville, Iowa was the one I was impressed in the most. And if you want me to, I can do a little bit more homework. 2 weeks ago, I got a price from them. It was $200 and some dollars less than it is now, because we talked about aluminum and wood going up. So now she did say, if you do this within the next week, we'll honor that contract. I said, well, that's not how school boards work. I said, we gotta take the school buildings and ground and go to school board and so forth.
But
So
on this one, what would your recommendation be, the last one, the 5?
21 foot.
well, I don't know if I would get 5 of them. If you get 3, you're looking at 63 feet. You know, and if you get 4 of the 15 footers, you're looking at 60 feet. And you're sitting 200 to 210. I think it would be cheaper. What is it per bleacher? 5,340 to 4,005. It'd be 15,900 to 4, 8, 12, 16. Over 16,000. So again, you know, the 21 foot is going to be harder to move. It's going to be heavier. And again, you can buy a kit for this to move them.
Sure.
But each bleacher has to have a special made frame for that kit to fit on. So you're looking at another $1,400 per bleacher.
So this K one here is 5 of them at 15 feet. Is $20,751, right?
20,026. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're looking at the shipping.
Because
Yes.
I agree with you, the 15 footers would be easier to move.
They would be easier to move.
And so would that be a recommendation to do the 5 15 footers? Is that what you think?
I think so, because it always seems like we can always use them.
Yeah.
And we don't use them
But
5, they're with 4, but we can always use.
moving them around, they're getting busted up and it's not,
Yeah, they
they're
can.
not gonna be safe if you keep them in there. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, and if you look at the other two bids, I mean, you're looking at 29,000 and 27,000 for basically the same thing.
I agree. Make a recommendation, Frank, send it to finance. Okay, Park Recreation, 5, 15 foot.
Did you say 40 again?
No.
No. Hopefully we'll have that answer Monday. So have it on speed dial for Tuesday morning. Or if they'll answer their phone Monday night.
Well, if you worry about them honoring the quote, if you do talk to them, just say, hey, we got a board meeting on Monday. You know,
Yeah.
we're like you said, this is as fast as school work, you know.
I will call them tomorrow and tell them, hey, if you can honor that contract, you know, for the first bid, we will order 5 of them if you give it to
On
us.
Tuesday morning.
I think it was 3,800 instead of the 4,000 something.
Do you want it on finance and board or just?
Yeah, just so we can.
Yep.
It's nice to know.
Yep.
Let's discuss the date of the next meeting, June 2nd.
Isn't there one in Maine already?
Well, there was one in May. I don't know if you guys want to keep going every month. Or if you want to do every other. I tried to do every other, but
Probably should because of this bus garage. I'm kind of excited about the bus garage.
okay.
And then, you know, as we click off some of these, Monday night, we're probably gonna click off a bunch of projects, and then that'll give us what we have left over for money to address, so.
Yeah.
All right. So May.
Now, if I get a bid for the freezer, do you want me to bring it to the school board on Monday night or not?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, you don't have to show up for it, but
no,
it would be the 5th. Yep.
Get it,
up to do it.
to Julie, because we could talk about it in finance too. You know what I mean? It lets us know when we buy and stuff up. That'd be great.
All right. Do you want?
Want to do it right? 6 o'clock.
Do you want to do 6 o'clock? Okay.
6 is better.
What day is that, Lou?
May 6th.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to go start mixing.
I was gonna repeat the cap.
Yeah.
6 o'clock would be, I know it's not quite as nice for you guys, but it just,
Well, we have to meet when you can meet.
yeah.
There's no other way around it.
So it'd be when is this board meeting, the 16th?
12.
No, I'm sorry. you were-
In May,
May,
the 10th,
10th.
way early.
We'd be looking at, yeah, I already have it set on mine, buildings and grounds.
Yeah, I have a lot.
Yep,
Yeah,
because I sent it way out at the beginning of the school year.
but just make sure we note that it's at 6 o'clock,
I will edit this right now. So
May 5th. May 5th.
May 5th at 6.
At 6.
That's a 5?
What?
May
6 or
5th at
5?
6
It's
o'clock.
May 5th at 6 PM.
Clear as mud.
I haven't asked you what too many times.
What? We love those hearing aids, Frank.
I do.
We'll go back up to item 4. How do we want to address this? Do you want to adjourn now?
Adjourn and then do that.
Okay.
I just want to throw this out there that I did talk to Dick Hauser today. And that the Ithaca Lions would be interested in doing a pancake or some sort of a fundraiser whenever the school for the playground.
Yep.
Well, there's gonna be bark and stuff that we needed. And I'm just telling you, if it was me, I would think that we should start checking into what like rubber would cost. And if a guy, if rubber's gonna cost twice as much and last 3 times as long. The big hit's gonna be the first time. But if you could put that rubber down, the bigger rubber chunk, I think it's a lot better than bark. So if we could do something like that and then raise the money for the bark or rubber, I would think that would be a great thing to do.
I think whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe raise money for a bus garage. Do you want any of this stuff back, Julie?
Instead of throwing it out, I can use it to hand it out at the board meeting. So,
I move to adjourn.
Or we can just bring it, I can bring it on.
okay.
You're gonna copy all this for everybody on the board?
Well, at least, yeah, probably
We'll have it in finance. So
in
we
finance.
need another couple copies.
I'll just bring mine back.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. So now the sarcasm person says, really? You're going to bring it back on Monday?
No, really, I'll sit right there. Right when I stop.
Just leave it right here. Randy's spot.
Here, I just slide it under here.
We're adjourned.
We'll take a look around.
I am going to.
And they got little toilets in there for you.